A recognized public figure and a passionate community champion, Heather Stefanson was elected as the MLA for Tuxedo in 2000 and re-elected in 2003, 7, 11, 16, and 19. On November 2nd, Heather Stefanson was sworn in as Manitoba's 24th Premier and the first woman to hold the office. Prior to becoming Premier, she served as Deputy Premier, Minister of Health and Seniors Care, Minister of Families, Minister of Justice, and the Attorney General of Manitoba. Her public service has also included working in the Office of the Prime Minister and the Federal Agriculture Minister. An investment advisor, Premier Stefanson earned her Bachelor's of Arts from the University of Western Ontario before completing her financial education at the Canadian Securities Institute. In 1997, she was awarded her Professional Financial Planning designation and worked as an investment advisor for a number of pioneering Winnipeg firms. She and her husband, Jason, are proud parents of 2 children. So please join me in welcoming to the stage our Premier, the Honourable Heather Stefanson.
Thanks, Vera. Thanks, Bud. That's awesome. That's great. Let's get organized here. Just put that down there. Let's get organized here. Thanks, guys. Sorry. Thank you so much, Ryan, for that really nice introduction. And I know when Ryan and I met a couple of weeks ago in my office, he had a cast on at that time. And so, Ryan, it's great to see that you're on the mend and looking great. So I hope you continue in your recovery. Thank you for your opening comments today. I just want to thank Elder Betty for that beautiful opening prayer. How amazing was that? Just amazing. Thank you so much. And just want to also thank Clifford Spence as well for the opening drum ceremony as well. That was amazing as well. So thank you, Clifford, for that. Before I get started, I just want to, this is not a job that you do alone. You have so many people, amazing people around you that help you do this job. And I just want to thank all of my caucus colleagues. Many of you are here today. If you could just stand and be recognized, because this is about all of us working together. And just thank you so much for all of your support over the years. Please stand. Thanks, guys. Now get back to work. No, seriously, they probably will be leaving at some point. We are in session, and so I know that if you do see some of them sneaking off, it's not, hopefully not reflected on my speech, but they have work to do back at the office. So good afternoon, everyone. Wow, Lauren, this is amazing, and Liz, this is amazing. So many people here today. I don't think I've been in a room with this many people in a long, long time, other than maybe at a football or a hockey game, but this is absolutely incredible. Thanks, Lauren, to you and the Chamber for putting this on. I know there's a lot of work behind the scenes, so thanks to you and your team, and Liz, thanks so much. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm pleased to be here with you today. My first, I hope, of many opportunities to speak with you as Premier. Thanks to the Winnipeg Chamber of Commerce, the Board of Directors, and again, Lauren Remillard, the Chamber President, for the invitation to speak to today's State of the Province event. The Winnipeg Chamber of Commerce is a strong advocate and resilient voice for the Winnipeg business community, and I commend them on the role they have played to help business navigate through the pandemic. Thank you for your service to our community. Nearly 2 years ago, the first cases of COVID-19 in Manitoba were confirmed. And make no mistake, the pandemic and the life-saving public health measures that had to be implemented have resulted in the most significant economic event in our lifetime. The pandemic is global in nature, and no one country or region was spared from its destruction. We are all working through the pandemic and setting a stage for the recovery. I want to tell you about our vision and plans for a strong economic and social recovery as outlined in the throne speech last week. We are setting a new direction with an ambitious agenda. I'm committed to working with my fellow Manitobans to heal the wounds of the past and move forward with a plan to incent investment, foster job creation, improve education and training opportunities, all to facilitate economic growth, drive innovation, and get our economy fully on track. We are committed to reconciliation. Our existing commitments are just a start, as we must now move to action. Advancing reconciliation with Indigenous Manitobans and forging a new relationship based on respect, cooperation, and partnership is fundamental to our economic future here in Manitoba. We will listen and learn from Indigenous neighbors, First Nations leaders, elders, knowledge keepers, families, and community members, as demonstrated by my meetings with Grand Chiefs and the addition of the land acknowledgement in our Manitoba legislature. But advancing reconciliation means more than just listening. It's about speaking the truth. It's about empowerment and action. It's about reducing barriers to success. It's about all Manitobans having the opportunity to fulfill their potential, and it's about creating real economic opportunities for Indigenous people in Manitoba. We have only just started, and I look forward to furthering this discussion. It is vitally important we come together to achieve reconciliation. Without true reconciliation, we cannot achieve inclusive economic recovery for all Manitobans. To beat the virus, valuable healthcare resources were redirected by provinces across the country to care for individuals with COVID. The impact on our healthcare system is evident. Surgical and diagnostic backlogs grew. Let me be clear in my conviction that we do not accept the status quo. This is why my government is taking direct action to address the collateral impacts of the COVID pandemic on our healthcare system. We already committed $50 million to address the backlogs this year. But to ensure that we deliver on our commitment, we are establishing a task force that will include doctors, nurses, and other professionals to set a path for clearing surgical and diagnostic backlogs and to enhance our ICU capacity. We also know that we have a nursing shortage. We have set a goal for ourselves to add 400 additional nursing seats in our post-secondary institutions, and the practical nursing program in Thompson is set to train 20 students. We want to keep these nurses right here in Manitoba. Every graduate from these programs will receive a job offer right here in Manitoba. But it isn't just about addressing the surgical backlogs or filling the demand for nurses. We also need to ensure that our seniors have the dignified care that we expect and that they deserve. This is why we're implementing every recommendation of Dr. Lynn Steffenson's review of long-term care in our province, and we will be consulting with Manitobans to enhance and implement a renewed senior strategy. COVID has severely affected the mental health of far too many Manitobans. Family violence and addictions have escalated during the pandemic due to unprecedented pressures. This pandemic has been a call to action to help our most marginalized neighbors, and we are taking action now. 2 weeks ago, we had announced a new low-barrier emergency shelter to support Winnipeggers experiencing homelessness this winter. There is more to do, including improving access to mental health and addiction supports and developing a homelessness strategy to ensure that the most vulnerable have access to safe and stable housing. So this has been a tough few years, obviously, for our economy, but there are some strong foundations to build on. That's why I'm here to talk to you to share our goal and vision moving forward. As we outlined in the throne speech, our work has only started. And over the next months and years, we are committed to working with our business community, economic development partners, and Manitobans to build a stronger economy. Here are a few good indicators. The Conference Board of Canada is forecasting economic growth of 4.8% in Manitoba next year, larger than expected growth of Canada and second only to Alberta. This strong forecast demonstrates the resilience of Manitobans and, most importantly, Manitoba businesses. Total exports have increased 9.2%, ahead of the Canadian average of 7.6%. Our exports to the United States have increased 10.3% year to date and are expected to exceed pre-pandemic numbers. In November, we celebrated the grand opening of Roquette's $600 million protein processing facility in Portage la Prairie, the largest of its kind in the world. Maple Leaf Foods' recent expansion will strengthen Manitoba's position as a food processing leader by supporting innovation and creating both training opportunities and job creation. And we are seeing growth in digital technology. The Neo Financial Technologies, Inc., establishing its second headquarters in Manitoba, and Traction on Demand recently opening its newest regional office in Winnipeg. These two businesses will create over 400 new jobs in Winnipeg in the next 18 months. And while COVID brought the tourism industry to a standstill around the world, as our communities reopen, the Manitoba tourism strategy will be the new roadmap for the future of industry. We are committed to implementing this strategy. Our investments in community infrastructure and our work to preserve heritage spaces will create vibrant communities rich with arts, culture, and museums that will support our tourism sector. Through tourism, we have a plan to create a more prosperous future for Northern Manitoba. We are committed to working with Northerners to support long-term economic growth and development in the North. Northern and First Nations communities also have abundant mineral resources, and we will make Manitoba one of the most attractive places in mining investments that will expand job opportunities for Northerners. I can hear Jim Downey out there. Last week, we implemented multi-year permitting for mineral exploration projects. This will reduce red tape for businesses and help spur investment in this important sector. We will harness opportunities to use innovative technologies and create green jobs in Manitoba through a new energy policy framework. We will make strategic investments in roads and bridges and water and waste systems because having the right infrastructure will underpin our economic growth. Our throne speech said, proposals for much-needed municipal investments are now before federal and provincial governments. Timely decisions are critical. Timely decisions are critical to post-COVID economic recovery and our ability to attract investments. Last week, the Mayor of Winnipeg and I announced our recommendation to the federal government to give us early approval on funding the needed investments to modernize and expand the City of Winnipeg North End Pollution Control Center. We also... Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think you might be here somewhere. We also agreed on funding for new transit buses and in particular for moving to increase purchases of zero emissions buses to help meet our climate change targets. These key investments in infrastructure will enable more private investment and are key to supporting our strong agricultural and food production sectors through our Manitoba Protein Advantage strategy. Setting the stage for economic growth also means ensuring we maintain a competitive tax environment for business and new investors. To support our next generation of business leaders and reduce barriers to success faced by many aspiring entrepreneurs, we are partnering with Futurepreneur Canada to help entrepreneurs launch and sustain successful businesses. We want to spur Manitoba's entrepreneurial spirit by promoting policies that support startup and small business growth and get new products to market. We know access to capital is a major concern for all businesses. That's why we will be proceeding with a venture capital framework to improve access to capital for Manitoba businesses and to help emerging companies and startups that have potential for long-term growth and creating jobs right here in Manitoba. We need to create an ecosystem that encourages more investment in Manitoba companies. It is a priority for our government to continue to remove the barriers that prevent economic growth. Our goal is a government that can keep up with the speed of business and seize new opportunities. And that for sure will be a challenge, but we're going to make it happen. In October, total employment had risen by 84,200 jobs, and Manitoba now has the lowest overall and lowest youth unemployment rate in the country. But it is clear we have a labor shortage, and it imperils our progress. Our low unemployment numbers are a double-edged sword. We are proud to see so many Manitobans in the workforce, but we hear from you, our business leaders, that it is challenging to find the talent you need to grow your business or to reopen to your pre-COVID pandemic levels. To help fill the skill shortage, we will invest more in the skills-based economy and work with business to deliver demand-led skills training that will address labor market needs in areas such as hospitality, trucking, manufacturing, and nursing. We have a $50 million commitment for training current and future workers of Manitoba through multiple programs, including the Canada-Manitoba Job Grant, Retrain Manitoba, and the Skills Development Program. Investing more in skills development fuels innovation and resilience. A skilled workforce is an adaptable and productive workforce necessary for us to be more competitive at home and across the globe. Ensuring Manitobans have the skills they need to succeed in their careers starts in childhood. That is why we will proceed with reforms to improve our K-12 education system and to better prepare students for academic and labor market success. We are working closely with post-secondary institutions and employers so Manitobans gain the skills to build their careers. Our skills, talent, and knowledge strategy outlines our commitments and actions to align our post-secondary system with labor market needs. Our businesses have told us it's difficult to attract talent amid a national labor shortage aggravated by the pandemic. To help address this challenge, we support the federal government's plans to increase immigration numbers and shorten approval times, both of which came to a standstill during the pandemic. We need to grow immigration in Manitoba. Manitoba has a rich history of welcoming immigrants, refugees, and we are proud of our Provincial Nominee program, which is the best of its kind in Canada. We all know immigration and a diverse workforce contributes to a strong economy. We will be seeking expansion of our Provincial Nominee program. And we are going to strengthen that commitment by increasing the number of English language training programs and enhancing recognition of foreign credentials to better match professionals to meaningful work right here in Manitoba. Our internationally educated nursing initiative has shown early success, and we are committed to helping more internationally educated nurses to move into the healthcare field and help fill skill shortages across Manitoba. We know there are thousands of future Manitobans who want to come to our province, and I'm committed to seeing that they make it here. With over $2 billion borrowed to help us get through the pandemic, we must focus on stimulating economic growth and ensuring a strong recovery. A strengthened provincial economy will generate the revenues that benefit our government and citizens, allowing us to invest in important areas like healthcare, like education and social services. At this stage of our collective COVID recovery, Manitobans and Canadians are being buffeted by inflation, the greatest impacts of which are on those in the most vulnerable situations. Our government recognizes the increased need as we work to combat this challenge. With a renewed cooperative relationship with the federal government, we will work to ensure that Manitobans have the support that they need. Since my swearing in, I have made one thing clear, and I would like to reiterate it here today with all of you. My government is committed to taking immediate actions to help heal the economy, advance reconciliation, rebuild the healthcare system, and promote wellness for all Manitobans. In the months and years ahead, we are committed to listening to Manitobans from all backgrounds and perspectives on how to move Manitoba forward. As business leaders, you are the engine of our economy, the creators of jobs and prosperity for so many Manitobans. We have much to learn from your resilience and adaptability over the past 21 months as we carve our path forward. Thank you so much to all of you who are here today, who are making and helping our economy grow here in Manitoba. We have so much that we can do. We just need to do it together, and we're committed to that. Thank you very much.
Please welcome back to the stage to moderate our fireside chat, Chair of the Winnipeg Chamber of Commerce, Liz Choi.
All right, we have 12 minutes. It's going to go by really fast. Yes. So, Premier, let's get right to it.
Okay,
but before we start, I have a request to make, and I make this request with the utmost level of respect for the position. That said, we wanted to sit down with you today because we had a purpose to get to know that human side of our Premier. So I'm wondering if it would be okay for me to address you by your first name for the next 11 and a half minutes.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
problem.
Heather. So are we ready? So you've been in politics for a long time. So you've been an MLA since 2000, and you also worked in political offices prior to that, including for Prime Minister Mulroney. So we are curious, what got into that young Heather's mind and pursued politics? And what advice do you have for the young people here who might be thinking about it?
Well, first of all, to all the young people here, and I want to hear from all of you right now. Where are you? You're in the back there somewhere? Way to go, guys. You know what? Politics is, I've had great experience and learned so much. And every day in this job is absolutely incredible. I didn't necessarily aspire to do this, but I did, sort of learn the importance of giving back to community from both my mother and father. My mother was a citizenship court judge, And I learned the importance of, I mean, those ceremonies are absolutely incredible. I'm not sure if anyone's had an opportunity to be to at those ceremonies, but just incredible how moving they are, and how important it is for us sometimes, those of us who are born here, how we sometimes forget how lucky we are to live in this incredible country. And that certainly was something I learned from my mom and at a young age, and from my dad, who actually ran politically at one point in time. I started off going door to door when I was 7 years old with him, and so that's really where things started, and it's about getting involved in the process. Certainly when I worked in the Prime Minister's office, I learned a lot about how government works. And I would say to any businesses or young people out there, please get involved, because it will help you later on in life to know and understand. Business does business with government as well. And so knowing the inner workings of how government works is incredibly important. So make sure you get out there and learn, and I think it'll be rewarding for you in the end.
Well, I've been through a citizenship ceremony. I actually am a recipient of the PMP benefits, and then later became a citizen. So I can attest to that experience personally. So I don't know if you remember, but we've met.
Yes.
While you're campaigning, I followed both candidates' campaigns closely, and it's always, I'm curious with elected officials and what drives that motive, but not only that, just what they're really like as a person. So I think I walked up to you and said, I just wanted to find a place of relatability and wanted to get to know you as a person, and we had a great chat. So when we chatted, you also mentioned that you had thought about running for leadership earlier in your life, and then decided to put it off because you wanted to prioritize your family. And then now here you are, you hold the highest office in Manitoba. So why did you always want to run for leadership, and what does leadership mean to you? How would you define that?
Well, I think, I did have an opportunity a couple of times before to consider running for the leader of our party, and I think at that time we had discussions as a family, and it just wasn't the right time for us. My kids were young, and I just cherished the days that I was able to spend with them because of the choice that I made at that time. Now, fast forward to where we are today, and when we had this discussion again, my kids were really excited. I mean, they said to me, Mom, you gave this up for us, in a couple of times before, but now it's your time. And so they were behind me 100%, and it's just, they've been amazing, and just love them so much, and they're a huge part of why I'm here today.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, I guess my mic was off, but just even making that decision to wait on it is a form of leadership. So you've been demonstrating that for a long time. So Heather, I'm going to make most out of this 12 minutes of Heather. So you're our 24th premier, which is a big deal, which means we had 23 premiers before you. And it's been mentioned before too, a couple times, but the fact that you were our first woman premier. So just thinking about last few weeks since you were sworn in and now, how does that hit you? What goes through your mind?
Well, it's very humbling to be given this opportunity to be in this chair, and I mean, as a woman too, I mean, I think it does give hope and opportunity for young women, I would hope, out there too, to just say that you get involved in the process, get involved in the political process, and this is something that you can do one day too. But I'm just really humbled and honored to be given this opportunity and to be before you today.
I hope there will be many more, and that we won't even have to address the first of so many to come. We had a side chat at the table, so I just mention that. So you made a number of points in your speech earlier, and two that stood out to me that's related to the code movement that I spoke about earlier in the opening of the event, code commitment to opportunity, diversity, and equity. And I really appreciated the point that you made in your speech that you're approaching truth and reconciliation. That's just not based on lip service. You will be focused on doing this on an action-based manner and then really following through on your commitments. And as well, you spoke to equity-focused approach to addressing and helping those who are most in need. So in your plan about province's economic recovery from the pandemic, how do you see diversity and inclusion being a part of it? So could you elaborate a little bit further?
Yeah, I think in two areas. I think advancing reconciliation with our First Nations and Indigenous communities is incredibly important in that in order for us to achieve economic growth and prosperity in Manitoba, we need to be in partnership with Indigenous communities as well. So that will be a big part of it. I think as well, we also, and I did mention about the Provincial Nominee program, and I know you mentioned that you were one of the applicants and someone who benefited as a result of that program. I think what we're hearing out there right now is that program probably needs to be revamped, and it needs some tweaking to make it even better than it already is. And so those are certainly two commitments that we will make in Manitoba.
Great, and that naturally will make Manitoba more diverse by having those programs open. So as a Manitoban, I'm curious, how do you define your own success as Premier, and what does that future look like that you want to take the rest of us towards?
Well, I think we need to ensure that we have the hope and opportunity for future generations to want to stay in Manitoba. I want to ensure that we have a Manitoba that is, attracting businesses here, that we're on the world stage, that we're, Winnipeg's a great place to be, Manitoba's a great place to visit and to call home. And so I think we need to start and send that message out there that we have a great province here. We just have to get out and tell our story more. And so I'm really looking forward to doing that with the support of everybody in this room, I hope, all 1,200 of you. We all have to do this together. This is a great place. We've chosen Manitoba as home. And why have we done that? Because it's a great place to be. And so I think we go out and tell this incredible story to people around the world and start to put Manitoba on the map, and we already are. But let's continue to do that, and I think we'll have a great province ahead of us with attracting new businesses here, attracting people who will be proud to call Manitoba home, as we are.
I think every Manitoban has a story. Maybe we don't think about it as much, but somebody who, as myself, I came here as a teenager, so I think about that a lot. I did attempt to leave the province and came back after a few years. There's something about Manitoba and Winnipeg, and yeah, like that. And we do have a great system, like you mentioned earlier. So if we all join in on telling our stories, we will be more successful in making our province way more inclusive to all those future immigrants and newcomers. So excited to following you on those updates. We talked about leadership just a few moments ago. So for you personally, who were or are the people that you consider your mentors, role models, and influencers in your life?
Well, definitely, I would say, and we sort of touched on this earlier, my mom was definitely an influencer and a role model to me in my life in her years, especially as citizenship court judge, and the incredible new Canadians and new Manitobans that we met during that time. It was amazing, and just the importance of giving back to the community. I know Mom and Dad were both very involved in the community, and we're on various arts boards and so on, and I think that the importance of giving back to community is something that they instilled in me. And I think my grandmother as well was someone that people felt they could go to, my Nan. And some of you may know her here today and may have talked to her in the past, but she used to be someone that would just listen to people, and the knowledge that she would gain from that was incredible. And so it's something that I've learned from her, the importance of listening, taking a collaborative approach to things. And I think leadership is about also recognizing that, we're human. We're gonna make mistakes. And if we make mistakes, then just apologize and move on. I think that's what, we're not always gonna get things right, but recognizing that, when we don't get things right and moving forward. So I think that's an important part of it.
I don't know how you would do because you're not exactly in a position where people are very forgiving of you. So, because my next question was, what was the best piece of advice you received? And you might have touched on that, but is there something else that come to your mind in terms of best advice that still shapes you as a person, as a leader, or a premier?
You know, my mom always said to be humble and kind. And, you know, that will help you get through life. I think there might be a country song that's always be humble and kind, but I don't think that's what she had in mind. But I just think really, you know, it's been such a challenging time, I think, especially during COVID for everybody. And I think we just have to recognize that we're all neighbors and friends and part of a big family that we call Manitoba. And I think just remembering that and being kind to others is incredibly important.
Now, we're perfect for timing, actually. So just then taking off that premier hat, just as Heather, mom, wife, like what do Friday nights look like? Do you even have Friday nights anymore? But let's go back to before the election. How do you recharge?
You know, we sometimes get together with neighbors and friends and community, but and sometimes we have events on the weekend. But I think during the week when, you know, I come home and my two dogs, we have a glass front door, and my two dogs are sort of sitting there waiting for me to get home. And you know, you just remember on the weekends that, you know, you got to spend a little bit more time with them on the weekend than maybe during the week. And so we love to take our dogs for a walk. Our dogs' names are Harper and Reagan, and our last dog was Thatcher, so there's a bit of a theme going on. But we love our dogs. It's family time, really, is what it is too, and maybe having a little bit of fun with some neighbors and friends as well. It's important to get out there and have a little bit of fun because, you know, this job can be very serious. Politics is very serious and sometimes a lonely game, and it's good to get together and have fun with friends and family and the dogs.
As a dog lover myself, I can totally relate. And Heather, last question, perhaps the toughest. Your prediction for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in the Western Final.
Go Blue!
Go Blue, that is. Okay,
I do want to say just quickly to that, though, I'm really excited to be going to the game on Sunday with my son. And I think that it's going to be so great. Bob Irving, I think, is being honored there, and just such a great thing. You know, our Bombers have done so well, and I know when Kelvin Gertson was premier for the 2 months, he used to brag about being, you know, that there was never a loss for the Blue Bombers while he was ever premier. So I'm not letting him get away with that. We're going to continue that streak and for Manitoba. So really excited. Go Blue!
Well, that's all the time we have today. I wish we had more time, but thank you, Premier, for taking part in this fireside chat, a new and refreshing and groundbreaking. I think this is our very first time doing this, and we hope to be able to do this again in the future.
Thank you, Liz.
Please join me in a round of applause.